Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're going to do an election prediction. Donald Trump versus Bernie Sanders 2020. Who will win? What will the map look like? How will things change from 2016? Now, this is something that is highly probable. Bernie Sanders seems like one of the more likely Democratic candidates, and he also seems one of the more liked Democratic candidates. On the other hand, we have Donald Trump. He's by this point he's been president for 4 years, and his approval ratings are generally on an upward trend as current, but below most presidents. So we're going to start off by giving just the obvious states. One second, let me just change the map options. There we go, to make it easier. Oops. Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, Illinois, all up there in northeast Vermont, New York, and then on the east, Maryland, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, DC. This is what it would look so far. New Mexico as well. But it's definitely not going to go to Donald Trump. So here's what I see now for the Republicans. I'm going to leave Texas blank, and you'll see why. So, all up in the South, Arkansas, Missouri, Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, of course, Mike Pence, Missouri, I see being safe Republican, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, West Virginia, South Carolinas, I see it being in the Republican column, definitely. Now, here's the map as it is so far. Generally seems pretty normal. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Bernie Sanders is often seen by the media and by the public alike as a figure who prescribes no corruption to himself, and he's generally very favored by the public. I believe it or not, he's actually one of the most popular senators and politicians in the United States. I think his approval rating is perhaps over 60%. However, that does come with a catch. One of the reasons why Bernie Sanders is and was so popular in 2016 is that no one could attack him. Trump, for instance, could not attack Bernie Sanders because he wanted the Sanders voters. Clinton could definitely not attack Bernie Sanders because then she'd lose the people that she was trying to get to vote for her as well. Because Bernie Sanders was kind of seen like a pinata when he lost the Democratic nomination. Trump and Clinton were both scrambling for his voters. Obviously, Clinton got the vast majority of them, but I feel like that if Clinton and Trump were able to attack Bernie Sanders, then I think that those votes could be quite evenly distributed. I think Bernie Sanders voters can be categorized into two people. There's your young millennials of California, New York, perhaps, and just scattered across the United States. And there's the Rust Belt types, people who were perhaps part of or still in a union, from Minnesota to Pennsylvania, Ohio, Iowa. I think there's be a lot of young support showing up in the South as well. But I think that Bernie Sanders' approval is inflated because no one really wants to attack him. The second reason is that the economy is actually looking pretty good as of current. I'm not sure. I can't make a prediction for 2020 what that economy is gonna look like. However, based on the current trend line of what we're experiencing so far, if the U.S. sticks to that trend line, then I think that because economic indicators are all being good, and there's a record high optimism, small businesses and big business alike. People are optimistic, wages are slightly going up, and unemployment is going down. These are generally really good indicators for the United States. Now, why this is important is that in 2016, this was not the case. In 2016, and when the election was, when Hillary and Sanders were going at it in earlier 2016, um, economic indicators did not look so good. Um, the stock market was up, but it was not shooting up like it has been recently. There's still a lot of frustration in the Rust Belt and in most parts of America, and business confidence is not at that at that optimal level, which it is now. And this greatly would help an outsider candidate like Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump, as the poor economic conditions would leave people to vote for more extreme right or extreme left parties like Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. But what they have in common is the both populist message, that economic authoritarianism, I like to call it. But that greatly helped Trump win. And now that the economy seems to be going in upwards direction, it would help Trump win again, because Bernie Sanders would not have that momentum that was coming from a poor economy. Another thing that I feel is going to happen is that Trump's gaining on the black vote, and it's not only due to Kanye. It's that African Americans are generally um, put into a place of identity politics when really they're more independent in their voting process, and a lot of them would see Bernie Sanders positive. In fact, probably more than 60% would, but I feel like a lot of them would actually go for Donald Trump due to low black unemployment, and I think Donald Trump would definitely go hard at trying to win over those votes, even if it means lying to them. So I think that Trump would try to capture as more minority votes, and the second part of minority vote is Latino votes. I don't think Latino votes would come out for Bernie Sanders, and the reason for that is a lot of Latinos are from places like Venezuela, and they're from Cuba, and they resent socialism. And so Bernie Sanders labels himself as a socialist, and that's not going to help him because Trump's going to accuse him of being a socialist, and Bernie Sanders is going to be like, okay, it is. Yet if you look at most Americans' view of socialism, this was done last year, so or more than a year ago. So just this might have changed a bit, but most Americans overwhelmingly reject socialism. It's only from the young Americans that would seem the millennial vote would seem a more positive view, perhaps, of socialism. But if Bernie Sanders gets that label, it'll be very hard for him to convince all of America, or not all of America, just these swing states, to vote for a candidate like him. So that's why I'm going to give Iowa to Donald Trump, Ohio, oh my gosh, Ohio to Donald Trump, Georgia to Donald Trump, Texas to Donald Trump, Arizona to Donald Trump. Now, I do think that things have not. Trump has lied about his promises to Michigan, so that would probably go to Bernie Sanders, and I think the same about Minnesota. Maine, Maine district, first district would definitely go to Sanders. However, Trump would likely carry the second district. Um, Virginia, definitely not going to Donald Trump. It's been trending more Democratic recently. Um, However, I think that North Carolina and Florida will go to Donald Trump because of the Latino vote, as I talked about, rejects socialism. Plus, the Cuban Venezuelan population perhaps would live there. Colorado, especially with marijuana, and Nevada, I think the West is definitely trending more Democratic, and Alaska, of course, probably go to Donald Trump. They won't want socialism there, and mostly a white population. That leaves Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire. Clinton very, very, very narrowly won New Hampshire by 0.2%, and I think that Bernie Sanders will carry it just from his roots are in that area. He's from Vermont, and he has positive approval ratings there. Um, I think Bernie Sanders will carry Pennsylvania, and the reasoning behind that is Pennsylvania had perhaps an artificial vote for Donald Trump, which was just Donald Trump was going in a positive polling direction, meaning he had the momentum when coming into November 8th, 2016, and it was so close, it's really anyone's game, but I feel like Philadelphia is really going to come out and vote for Bernie Sanders. And that leaves Wisconsin. Wisconsin's interesting. Wisconsin is not as bad economically as Michigan, and it has high white population. So it also has a high black population. But I do feel like Wisconsin will go to Donald Trump because of that anti-socialism message. A lot of them will come uh, to Republican senses that Trump would actually perhaps be seen as more moderate, as Trump is not toting the extremist positions that he was during the election. And I see that I only have 23 seconds, so please leave a like and subscribe to this video to this channel, Fetish for Freedom here, and thank you very much.